Good morning, guys. Can you hear me?
Hi, good morning. Yes.
Good
Awesome.
morning.
Awesome. Yeah, sorry, I've been having trouble with my audio the last couple of weeks. Good to know that we're back in business. How's everybody doing?
Good. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good. How are you?
I see a couple new names in the lineup here. Did somebody invite guests or is somebody here for the first time?
I don't think Ashley has been here yet. She's actually my daughter. She got her license this year. We're still
Nice.
working on like the onboarding and stuff, but she was my assistant the whole last year.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that. That's amazing. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
Cool. Ivana, did you have your dialogue, your role play on Friday?
No, actually on Friday I wasn't feeling very well in the morning, and I went back to bed after I dropped off my after my kids left, and
Yeah.
I just didn't get up.
Okay. No problem. Yeah, I checked in, but I didn't see you on, so I figured something must have happened.
Yeah, we had it this morning though. Yeah.
Okay, good. How'd it go? What are you guys role playing?
It went well. We still role playing the expires, but I think Altondra she has been calling more, so she had a very tough one for Doris. So it was good to see them. You know, once you start making the calls, you start seeing how mean people are. So I can see now that people are making calls, I can see how the meeting is shifting, right? Like we're not being that nice to each other.
Yeah, no, it's rough out there, but it should be.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if it was easy, then it would be low hanging fruit, and then everybody would be doing it. But the fact that it's really hard, it makes it more rewarding when you do get someone that you build trust with. I'm telling you, man,
Yeah.
I've met some really good people and good friends through prospecting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
funny,
me
you never
too.
know who
It's
you're
just
gonna
not everybody's like that. You get a lot of mean people.
I remember we have an agent in our team. He's still with us, but he's inactive because I think he's in college. And I I set him up on prospecting, and one day he calls an old couple somewhere in the woods. I forget. It was like I want to say it was Morris County or it was Somerset County, one of those two places. Nice little house, $600,000 house. And he just kept saying to me, "It's like, man, I've been calling and calling and calling." And I finally got this couple, and they're really nice. They're so nice. Like the guy was like, "Yeah, come over. I want to meet you." Like this and that. Like really nice people. And I said, "Well, listen. One thing you're gonna realize is that prospecting is like a filter, because what it does is it eliminates all the assholes who you wouldn't want to work with anyway, and it only leaves behind the people who are nice, the people who are good, because only a good person would take the time to meet with a complete stranger and give you the benefit of the doubt to come over and check out their house." So he's like, "Oh, you know what? You got a really good point." So if anything, if you need something to mask the pain, just think about what you're doing becoming a filter for the clients that you want to have and eliminating the clients you don't want to have. Because if you guys have been in this business long enough, you'll remember, or you'll understand that sooner or later you're going to get a client that you didn't ask for, a client from hell. And those aren't the ones you picked up the phone and prospected on. Those are the ones you might have gotten through a referral or maybe through like some serendipitous event, but it happened. And you would give anything to not have that client again, right? So prospecting actually does that for you. So I don't know if you guys agree with that, if you've ever come across those situations, and if you can relate.
That's right. And you know, you hear it on trainings and stuff, but I have had clients that they tell me, "Oh, I'm gonna send you a referral," but if they're just like them, I don't think I want to work with them.
Yeah.
I have had to one lady at the beginning that she was so unrealistic that I actually had to refer her out because I was about to curse her out. So,
Yeah, people could be rough.
I'm finding that the better I target, have my niche, know what group of people that I'm working with, the easier it's becoming. When you're just calling anybody and everybody and you don't even have the right target, then it's difficult because you're babbling and they think that you're not good, and it just falls apart. It just, so all I can say is, as I zone in on the particular group that I want to prospect, I'm not running into the obnoxious people. I'm just not. I don't know. Maybe it's George. Everybody prays. On Wednesday, you can't find nobody. Everybody is in some type of Wednesday night service. So I don't know. But I do have to say, your mindset is a big part of it. If you think that you're going to meet assholes every day, you are most certainly going to run into one every 5 minutes.
That's very true, because that's what you're looking for.
It's embedded in you. So whatever is in you will be mirrored out.
Yeah.
There's no way you could get away from that. If it's in you, you're going to see it in another person. So if you don't like it in another person, look in yourself first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have something programmed within us called the RAS, Reticular Activator System, which is that thing in your mind that you've never noticed something before, but then all of a sudden you notice it everywhere, right? It's called like the red car effect. Like if you go and you search for a red car and that's what you're looking to buy, all of a sudden now when you look, everywhere around you is that red car because you never noticed it before. So what Belinda's stating is exactly right. If like what you're thinking is that everyone's an asshole, everyone's an asshole, everyone's an asshole, everyone's gonna curse me out when I call them or kick me off their lawn when I go door knocking. If that's what you keep thinking, those are the only things you're going to find or notice, right? Should I say? Because
Yeah.
all the good things that happen along the way, you're not going to notice because you're not focused on that. So if you train yourself to think the opposite, because 90% of people think that way and 10% of people think the other way, which is be grateful for the little things, be happy for the fact that, you know, you're even able to have a real estate license. Some people can't even pass a real estate exam, right? You've got that much, you got that going for you. And the fact that you got a phone to use, you know, some people may not even have the money to have a phone. You know, you got a car to drive places where you can go meet clients. Like there's so many things you got going for you. Focus on the good things that you can control. Don't focus on things you can't control, such as people who are going to have bad days. So one time a friend told me, he was in real estate a little bit longer than I was. He told me, he's like, when I get a mean person on the phone, he's like, I look at that as a game of chess. And I'm like, how so? He's like, because they're having a bad day and has nothing to do with me. He's like, what I try to do is I try to figure out why they're having such a bad day. And I talk about that instead. I was like, whoa, that was pretty deep. So think about that, all right? Somebody gives you a really bad attitude on the phone. Can you diffuse that? Can you change the subject? Can you give them kind of like the, you know, whoever saw that movie Madagascar when they got the cartoon character goes squirrel and like always like look somewhere else, you know, like divert their attention somewhere else. Sometimes that's all it takes, because if somebody you're talking to someone and they're, you know, you're talking about buying or selling a home and they're all standoffish and they're really upset, change the subject. You know, maybe talk about something that, you know, maybe you guys could both relate on, or maybe something totally out of the spectrum, you know, out of business, and see where that takes you. You know, he went as far as asking the person, he's like, hey, I'm sorry if you're having a bad day. Like he literally said these words. I'm going to say to you exactly what he said. He said, hey, I'm sorry if you're having a bad day. You know, I know that probably has nothing to do with me. You know, if you would like to talk about it, he's like, you know, put on my real person hat. You can just tell me, is something wrong? Is everything okay with you? He said the person completely like changed their whole demeanor. It was like, oh, you know, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to talk to you that way in that manner, but yeah, I'm kind of having a bad day, and you know, it's nothing to do with you. You know, this is and that. And he's like, you know, before the phone call is over, he's like, you know, maybe they won't give you, you know, an appointment or the business, but you got permission to call him back. He's like, you really do. He's like, people are funny like that. He's like, people, the most standoffish people are the people who actually are hurting the most. So it's nothing to do with you. So if you get someone like that, just remind yourself that it has zero to do with you. It has everything to do with them not being happy about something in their life. Can you guys agree on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you have to kind of diffuse, but then you have to come across as a real person, because you don't know how many calls they got from other realtors as well. So you have to differentiate yourself from the
Yeah.
other realtors that are calling as well.
Sure. Of course, because we're all playing the game. You know, real estate is not like a multifaceted type of rocket science. You know, it's not. It's a contact sport. The more people you talk to, the more chances you have, right? So if somebody tries to attack you for that, say, listen, I'm sorry, you know, this is my job, this is how I feed my family. The minute you can say, this is how I feed my family, they change a lot. A lot of times they do. This is how I feed my family. I'm sorry if I called you at the wrong time. I truly apologize. Is there a better time for me to contact you? I just want to talk to you about possibly helping you sell your home or get you an offer on your home, because nobody wants to sell their home. Remember this, I've told you this a million times. No one wants to sell their home, but everyone wants an offer on their home, right? Because they don't want to go through the process of selling their home. They just want that offer. Everyone wants the instant gratification. So if you can watch your words and say things like that, or give them visuals, I remember our lingo, our dialogue trainer, he was really good with visuals. He would always say, you could walk away with more money in your pocket. Everyone thinks, you may not think about it, but money in your pocket, that's a visual. A lot of things are visuals. So if you can talk in visuals to your client, like imagine how it will feel to finally close this chapter of your life and move into that new home that you wanted. Imagine how it would feel to not have all this overhead anymore. That's a visual. Those people are thinking now into the future, that you've given them perception. And a lot of times people are stuck in the now and like, oh my God, we got to go through all these steps to get my house sold. Like that's too much work. But sometimes you can give them that visual where like they're already there. That helps because you just bridge that gap. You bridge the gap from now, all the steps in between, and then the finish line. You guys get it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ivania, now tell us a little bit about this dialogue that you guys been going. Has any dialogue really kind of like stuck with you guys that has been like an ongoing type of objection or something like a bump in the road that you get from a lot of people? Or has there been something that you guys have really been struggling with?
Today, because of that call, I kind of saw something. We sometimes get too caught up in the system, right, and trying to learn the system and the guidelines that we forget why we do things. So I was talking to Doris and I told her, just forget about the script. We kind of know the script already. Let's not focus on just staying with the script, but mostly just like learn the objections, because the objections seem to be always the same. Oh, the market's bad. Oh, we don't want to hire a realtor. Or, so a lot of people are hurt that a lot of realtors, they put the house on the market and the house didn't sell. But if I heard something this morning, if we're always getting ready when the time to be ready comes, you don't have to be ready because you're already ready, right? So we're focusing more on just learning these objections so that whenever, because it doesn't matter who you call, it doesn't matter if it's FISBO or expired or the relocation list that I called, is the objections are always the same. So instead of just getting so caught up in the script, we're shifting to just like becoming masters of the objection handling. And as I said, sometimes I've noticed something in the call. We're going to start calling each other randomly because you don't know when it's coming. You're in the call and you're like, oh my God, I'm next. And you're nervous because you're next. And then, you don't know when you're going to be called. And I feel just like making it a little bit more random would be beneficial, because we call people sometimes. And as I was explaining to the girls this morning, some people call me back when I'm at the supermarket and I don't even know who you are. Like, that's when I need to be ready, right? Like, that's when I need to forget the script. Now we're talking. Like, I'm at the supermarket and I don't know who you are. And I called you. And I should not be asking you, why are you calling me? I should be ready, like, oh, this is a listing need.
Yeah.
So just making it a little bit random, not sticking so much to learning the script, more as you were saying, like talking as if that person, like, why are you having a bad day? Why did you have a bad experience? And just becoming masters at the objection handling.
Yeah, that you said something very important there. If I'm calling you back and I'm a potential seller and I'm calling you back and you make me feel like I'm one of 1,000 people you called that day, that really turns me off, right? Yep. So I'm not sure how you're keeping track of the people you're calling. I know that when I would call people, I would use a dialing system. And the beauty of the dialing system is the fact that when they're calling back, it shows me on the caller ID who they are and what the address is associated with it. So when they do call back, I just say, hey, Jim, what's up, brother? This is Lewis. I was calling you earlier on about your house on 123 Main Street. That sounds a lot better than hello. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. What address do you have? Yeah, I was calling a lot of people today, and I'm not sure if, I might have called you, but yeah, I was just interested in finding out, are you just still selling your home? That sounds a lot different, because now you turn them from feeling like a number to feeling like the purpose, and people like to be,
Mhm.
important. No one likes to be like, oh, it's just one of your numbers or a notch on your belt of calls today. That's not what people want to feel like. So you have to utilize something. If you don't have that, Ivani, if you're not using a dialing system, well, what I would do is I would purposely not answer the call right away when you call back. I would scrub the number to see what address that was from and then call them back 2 seconds later, even though that might be a little bit risky because a lot of times people don't answer, even if it's right after they called you. They may not answer because they may hear your voicemail and like, oh, that was a realtor, So
Yeah.
I would
I just started saving everybody's number.
I'm sorry?
Even people that I give my card to now, I just save everybody's number.
Yeah,
I
you can
put
say,
like a of I when it's listed sellers list, I write their address and stuff. Even if we have, I was telling them, even if we have never spoken in the past, there's people that do call back, and even if they haven't answered to my call, but there's people that do call back, and that has happened to me. Like, oh, you call me, so why are you asking me why I'm calling you?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that you could do is call from a dedicated line where that dedicated line does not have a voicemail, right? So when they do call back, you see it because a lot of these dedicated lines you can have as like an app on your phone, like a Google number or like a Mojo number or whatever you guys choose to use. It'll allow you to then keep separate who's calling you because it's your teacher, it's your kid's teacher from high school, or it's a client that you called earlier. It keeps that separation. So that way, that every number that calls back from here is someone to do with business, right? And then that one doesn't have a voicemail. Meanwhile, your regular one does. And what you could do is call that number back from the number either that you called from originally or call from your cell phone number. That way you could throw them off a little bit. And then at least who it was that was calling. I think that might help you if you're not using a dedicated system right now, just trying to keep that separation. It's helped me, and it's not free, guys. You're gonna invest some money in your business, but I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. It really does.
I have a thought on that because I had a Google number, and actually this year, I've been using it since I started real estate in 2019. Because we don't get those. I mean, I don't get those as much as I was getting them in the beginning, the stupid car guarantee call. So that's why I remember I complained to somebody and they're like, oh, just get a Google number, start using that. But this year I actually shut that down and I moved all of my contacts from Google. I actually went back and texted everybody, and I just started using one number, my personal number, just so that, and it actually shifted something in my mentality because I don't know, this year real estate feels like it's like a lifestyle now. It's not like a job. It doesn't feel like a job anymore. My life has, I don't know, it just melted together to the point where everybody that I speak to, even potential clients, I have clients that we're friends now. So I don't want that separation in my mind anymore. And I mean, Google started acting up a little bit, but I find it so much easier now just to have one number. It was getting a little crazy too.
Yeah, whatever works for you. If you feel like this is more manageable and this is a more streamlined way for you to work, then continue doing that. There's no
Yeah,
right
and then
way.
consistency too. Like some people were like, "Oh, why do you have two numbers?" Like, I want people to just find me with one. The easier that it is for them to find me. I don't know.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, and one thing I'll tell you guys is that when it comes to doing the prospecting or doing the things that are uncomfortable in your business, it's not so much about getting over the fear. For a lot of people, some people don't have that too much. It's like, oh, the fear. Sometimes it's that we take on too much. We take on things that don't really help us or make us money, and we say yes to everything, right? We say yes to the early morning appointments. We say yes to our kids when they can obviously things could be done at a different time, and we don't prioritize our time. So the more we can get into the habit of saying no and leaving our mornings open, because to be honest, that's the most productive time for myself. I don't know about you guys, if you guys feel the same way. I feel like the afternoons are like impossible. But if you can say no to 99% of things, then you will do the calls because you've got nothing else on your plate. And when I say this, I mean, I'm not saying just external, I'm talking about internal too, because there's a lot of things that are distractions within your own life that you can control, such as like, do I check emails in the morning, or do I turn off my my notifications on my phone? Do I check social media as soon as I get to a workspace? You know, are my text messages consistently throwing me into like left field? Like all these things that can happen when you should be focused are called distractors, right? And these distractors can literally veer you off from what you're supposed to do in that morning. So if you find yourself that you're that kind of person that you've been constantly telling yourself you're going to make the calls, you're going to make the time to prospect, you're going to do the marketing, you're going to do all these things, but then you get distracted. First, find out if those distractions are external or if they're internal. And then sometimes for both of us, it's going to be both, right? And find out if we constantly making excuses, right? Why didn't we make the calls this week? Why didn't we make the door knocking criteria this week? Why, why is it? And then if we always find ourselves making an excuse, then, unless we're like in an accident or we're having some kind of health issue, there really isn't an excuse, right? There isn't anything that is allowable because all you did is you reprioritized what was more important. And people don't really start putting the pedal to the metal until it's kind of like too late, right? Did you guys ever hear about, the smoker who stopped smoking when they get diagnosed with lung cancer? Or, the person who
Yeah.
diagnosed with diabetes and then they go on a diet? Like, you don't want to be that person in business. You don't want to be the person who like, oh, wait, did my bank account just go negative? And I better start making those calls, right? Like that's not what we want to see. We want to be in a position where we are the adverse of comfortable, because comfort will lead to being broke. And that's, you couldn't put it, any clearer than that. So what we need to do is find out how can we do the most uncomfortable things every day without distraction and without any excuses, right? And it comes down to even the little things in life, like, are you not exercising? Are you not eating healthy? Are you not, spending time with, reading the word? A lot of things that you would normally have to force yourself to, you only have to force yourself to do that for a short amount of time. And then after that, it becomes very much second nature, where you have to do it because it becomes part of you, it comes ingrained. Same thing happens in business. Once you start doing uncomfortable things, that becomes ingrained with you as well. So let me pick on one of you guys. Chris Leva, he's someone that I've known for many years. And when I met Chris, he wasn't into fitness as much as he is now. Like, he was a guy who was just like, you could tell, like, he was into business more than he was fitness. But then for some reason, something clicked in his head and he became like complete monster, obsessed. Chris, can you explain to us like what happened in your life where you made that mental shift, and how did that mental shift translate over to business?
Thank you for calling on me, Louis.
No worries, man. I mean, look, I could have picked on a better person here, because I saw the transformation myself.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. So the truth is that I unfortunately developed bad habits to cope with the stress in my life, particularly with, when I was running the brokerage firm and, just kind of dealing with all of the pressures of business and the imbalance in life. It was taking a toll on my family. It was taking a toll on, my wife, my daughters, and taking a toll on myself, because I was finding an escape in things that were not healthy. So, it was kind of like I was at the point where I felt like I needed to make drastic changes, right? I needed to have a paradigm shift in my lifestyle. And I have my best friend, who is godfather to my youngest daughter, Ariana. He was one that really kind of pushed me in, like, inviting me to go train with him, because I would go to the gym, but just the regular gym working out, and he was the one that got me involved into CrossFit. And, I remember in the beginning, like, I was doing it 3 times a week, and he was my accountability partner. So he was the one, like, it was 9 o'clock at night and I'm getting ready for bed, and he's texting me, "Did you sign in for class?" And I'm just thinking to myself, "Oh my God, this guy." Like, that's the last thing that I wanted to do, but I would force myself to go, push myself to go. And then before I knew it, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. And it's funny because I actually ended up going more and doing more than he does, and so he kind of laughs about that. He's like, "Man, you truly fell in love with this." And, I made it a lifestyle, not just for myself, but for my family as well. So I, I had no choice but to replace some bad habits with good habits, and that, working out, training, living a lifestyle of, being somewhat alcohol free, being drug free. I'm just being completely transparent here. So that, and, these past 8 years, my wife and I kind of went down a very, very intimate journey, and both of us haven't creating a relationship with God. And I realized that, to have a successful marriage, it's not just a husband and wife, it's a husband and wife and God. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And, it's kind of like just, I had an accountability partner who really pushed me. I had a wife who pushed me, and, seeing my wife wanting to go train with me and my daughters wanted to go train with me, that just kind of inspired me, and just kind of fell in love with it. So my dream, right, something that's on my dream board, is to be able to someday, create a business out of the hobby, maybe get certified to be a CrossFit coach, maybe buy a nice little piece of real estate that's got some mixed use, some residential income coming in, and I could probably turn another part of it into a CrossFit gym that kind of runs itself and creates a place where I could just kind of go and, and make a business out of what I love. But that's my story right there.
That's great, brother. And how did that translate over into your business life? Did you get a second win? Did you feel better about yourself, build self-confidence? Was your family life better, so it allowed you to do better in business? Like, how did that, how did that do for you?
For sure, without a doubt. The energy levels of living a clean life, as far as like eating clean, right? Raises your energy levels up. Training in the morning, I think it naturally releases all these endorphins and it gets everything flowing, everything going, to like you sit down with a clear mind, as opposed to not eating clean, And look, the reality is that the food in our world today, especially here in the US, it's all created to just give us disease and make us sick. And that's another journey that we've kind of gone down, is like cleaning up the way we live and the way we go food shopping, what's in our refrigerator, what's in our pantry, because that in itself is another lifestyle that we adapted, with the training, because it's a training is a part of it, but the other part of it is eating clean. And I realized after all these years of going to the gym and trying to get a six-pack, six-packs are not made in the gym, brother. Six-packs are made in the kitchen.
That's right.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, Chris is a very much an inspiration, because Chris went from me having to force him to play basketball to now like guy literally competing for, the fittest guy in his gym. So it's come such a long way, and I'm super proud of that transformation, because I'll tell you guys, there is nothing harder than changing your ways halfway through your life. Like it's easy when you're a kid, because you're a kid, you're very adaptable. But as you get older and you're so set in your ways and you kind of feel like that ship has sailed, it's never too late, guys. It is not too late for anybody. And for us, it just begins with making small, little settled changes in our overall health and overall life, because that transitions instantly into into the other facets of our life, into the business or into our relationships. We feel better about ourselves. We project something more energetic and powerful. That's what we get back. The same thing happens in the reverse, right? If we're eating nothing but garbage, we're not exercising, we're not getting sunlight, we're going to feel like down, we're going to feel sick, we're going to feel like, oh, woe is me type of mentality. And then everyone you see and everything you see around you now tends to become like your competition, in a sense where like, oh, that person thinks they're so great, they only have this because of that, because now you're compensating for your shortcomings with other, because you're starting to think to yourself, the only reason other people are successful is because you're a victim, right? That's kind of what the mindset you get into when you're doing that to yourself. It's self-sabotage. But when you're in a state of a powerful inner being, or when you're feeling like, you can do anything, now people who are successful or people who are doing better than you look at them as inspiration, or you look at them as like, hey, I need to meet that person, because I need to have that kind of person in my life. Instead of looking at it as like someone who's pushing you down, you look at it as someone who can help you even get higher, right? Or motivate you to get somewhere else. And it all becomes with the thoughts in our head, and those thoughts in our head get magnified by the things we put into our body and the the exercise that we may have or may lack in our life. So the same thing goes, guys, in business. And when we get into business and we feel great, oh man, we're rock stars. But when we feel horrible, everything is like, oh, that customer is so mean. And, you know, I hate buyers, I hate sellers. You know, my office sucks, you know, it's their fault. I don't get good leads. Like everything is against you. But when you're feeling great, it seems like nothing could be against you, right? And we have God in your life that even magnifies it that even much more, right? Nothing can be against you. So yeah.
Louis, I
Yes,
like
sir.
how you sorry, I like how you touched on that, you know, where you can get into a mindset, this victim mentality, right? Well, no one's had to go through my challenges. No one's kind of had to go through my troubles. And I would find myself in that state and look at, you know, my peers who have been in the business just as long as me and are doing so much more than me. And I'd kind of get like uncomfortable, like, you know, oh, but they had it this way, they were easy. But changing, you know, that mindset, I actually was able to, you know, kind of, you know, reach out to them as far as like looking at them as competition and, you know, actually have kind of started doing business together in a sense, right? So kind of reaching out to someone who I may have looked at as like, you know, competitive or maybe even looked at them in an envious way, but now kind of reached out to them and said, hey, look, like you inspire me to do better. And I've got a couple of ideas. And wouldn't you know, I would have never imagined that they were like, yo, Chris, like you inspire me. And yeah, let's go ahead and do something together. So, you know, it's kind of like reaching out and just being open, you know, and not allowing yourself to get to that defeated mentality. And another quick testimony, I'll let you go on. So, you know, there's still days that we all wake up. I wake up where I'm like in a rut and I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel like doing this today. I don't feel like going today. And I'm at the coffee shop and I'm ordering my coffee, black, no sugar. And then behind me is, you know, an old, you know, someone that I know from the community. He's older than me. And I remember when we were younger, like around the nightclubs, he was like one of the bouncers. And he comes up to me, he gives me this big old hug. He's like, yo, I love the workout videos, Chris. You got to keep posting them, man. You inspire me, man. It's like, here, let me pay for your coffee. I'm like, no, you don't got to do that. And he's like, no, dude, I want to buy your coffee. And then I was in a rush because I had to get to my CCD class at 8:30 in the morning. And, you know, he had me there just kind of like telling me about, you know, how much he enjoys watching the videos and how he's inspired me to start working out. And maybe he can come to the gym with me. And then so I left there. This guy bought me my coffee, bought me my bagel, and I'm driving and I'm thinking to myself, wow, like God's got a mysterious way of kind of like putting people in your life sometimes. Because at that moment, I kind of felt like, you know, a bit burnt out, a bit down, and how you don't even realize it. Sometimes you could be inspiring someone, you know, without even realizing it. And that was kind of like a testimony to me to keep doing what I'm doing, you know, and so yeah, I just wanted to share that real quick.
No, absolutely. And everybody goes through that phase when they got that little inner voice telling you or challenging what you're doing. Like, oh, Chris, why are you waking up early? No, you mean you don't got to work out today. Oh, Chris, you know, why you got to post videos? You know, nobody cares. Everybody looks at you weird, Chris, because you're supposed to be a real estate agent. Why are you posting workout videos, Chris? Come on, man, you look like a clown. You know, these are the things that you're telling yourself, right? And
Sure.
correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel it all the time when I do it too. And like, you think to yourself, like, yeah, but you know what? Man, nobody cares. And then you get that one time when, you know, God put someone in your life to just remember or remind you that, you know, what you're doing, it may only impact one person today, but that person may have a life-changing moment that then goes on to then transferring over to their family and to their kids. And because of one thing you did, changed the whole lineage, right? I had a friend, God rest his soul, that I went to high school with, and he passed away many years ago. But it was weird because God put him in my life after high school for no reason. It was just like real random. So he was a very athletic kid in high school, very athletic basketball player. Like the kid was like peak health, right? You look at him, you're like, wow, guy's really well put together. He could be in the NBA. So I ran into him because something to do with real estate, like many years after high school. And I was prioritizing work. I was overweight. I think at the time I was weighing like 210 pounds. I was like 50 pounds overweight, right? 40 pounds overweight. And I run into him and I'm showing him, I forget, I was showing him some apartments for his mother or something. Like it was, I don't remember what it was. But him and I got to talking and I'm like, Antonio, you look amazing, bro. You look like this, you look like you did in high school. He's like, yeah, man, you didn't know. It's like, I've always been a vegetarian my whole life, and I eat nothing but a high alkaline diet. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, all throughout high school, you didn't see me bring my own lunch to school every day. I would bring salads every day. I'm like, nah, bro, I never saw, no, I never noticed. He's like, yeah, I eat a very high alkaline diet, and I follow very closely a doctor, Dr. Sethi, or like a Sethi or something like that. Is a doctor that's very like so much like very like a naturalist, and he put me on this journey where I'm like, what's high alkaline? And then I looked it up, and it's when your body is out of pH. Your body is too acidic, or you're too, or your acidic is basically when your body is very sick, and it could cause cancers within your body because you're not getting enough good nutrition. And alkaline is when your body is getting all the proper nutrition, getting all the fresh vegetables, fruits, sunlight, all these things that your body needs, water, like a lot of water. And you got to have this balance. You got to look it up for yourself, do some research. So I did the research on it. I'm like, oh, I started looking up some videos on YouTube about this Dr. Sethi guy in Ecuador. Actually, I don't know if you guys remember Left Eye, Lisa Lopez from TLC. She actually
Yeah.
she was visiting Dr. Sethi in Ecuador when she died. And a lot of people say that she was murdered because she was going to bring to light all the information Dr. Sethi was putting into her, which, is probably conspiracy theory, but, there's always truth and a little truth in everything, right? So I started looking into that type of a diet, and I'll tell you guys, I started juicing, and I started doing the high alkaline thing, and it's almost like overnight. I'm telling you right now, 30 to 60 days, I dropped 50 pounds. And I'm like, wow, this guy changed my life. I'm like, this kid Antonio literally has changed my life. And then a few months later, he was he was killed because he really good kid, really good guy. He used to do outreach program for kids in inner city, like in Elizabeth. There was this project called Pierce Manor, and Nicola's on the call. She knows what I'm talking about. Pierce Manor was one of the worst ghettos in Elizabeth, and he used to go there, and he used to mentor young kids, young boys. And somebody, I guess, didn't like what he was doing because maybe he was getting in the head of somebody who was a gang member, and he was shot. But before he lost his life, he poured into me, which completely changed my life. And now I've changed the lives of the people that I've been closest to. And you just never know who's listening to you. And imagine that was one-on-one. He spoke to me one-on-one. Imagine if you're creating a video and then you're reaching 100 people. Sometimes you think to yourself, oh, this video only got 100 views. Would you stand in front of an audience of 100 people in an auditorium? You probably wouldn't, because you probably be too intimidated. But when you reach 100 people online, you kind of sometimes doubt yourself, like, I only reached 100 people. Guys, that's a lot. Like, when you start doing it more often, you get millions of views like Chris did, and your life changes, right? So what I'm saying to you is, if you have something that's a very powerful message, or you have something that's you're very passionate about, don't be worried about sharing it. Don't listen to that inner voice that you have in your head, because you just never know who you're going to help or who you're changing. Like with these calls, sometimes I feel like, why am I doing these Monday morning calls? Nobody cares. But then you guys come in here, you tell me that you really enjoy these, and then they help you and they set you off on the right path every week.
Definitely care, Louis.
Yeah, so I continue doing them,
Yeah.
and even if it's one person, 100 people, whoever it may be, guys, it's important for you to share your message, as long as it's a message of positivity and not a pity party, right? You guys know what a pity party is, right? That's when a bunch of people get together and complain about things they have no control over. They got no control over the government. They got no control over the weather, but they complain about it anyway. That's a pity party. When you get around people who are always conscious about the things that they can change, and usually the thing you can change the quickest is your environment, right? If you're depressed, you can change your environment. If you're in a state of fear, you can change your environment. You can't change other people, but you can change who you're around. So remember that, if you're constantly being pulled down in a negative direction with the wrong crowd, then change your crowd, see how you feel about it then, and then your life will change. I'm not, this call is not about, self-improvement or self-help or development like that, but it goes hand in hand with business for sure. So what are your thoughts on that, guys?
100%.
Well, I just want to share something that you said, Louis.
Yeah.
In latter part of 2021, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and then I had to go through a lot of treatments, mostly last year. But before that, I kind of got lazy and I had put on some weight and I was going through some things. But that was a turnaround for me because I used to be a long distance runner when I was younger, but then when, life gets in the way and then you kind of get lazy sometimes. So that was that. So my doctor had my surgeon had talked to me. I have a doctor and an oncologist that I still see. And my doctor told me that she wanted me to go to a plant-based diet. And I used to be vegetarian when I was younger, but then I kind of gave that up. So I went back to a vegan diet. I get up in the morning, like at 4 o'clock in the morning to exercise. And I'm just like putting myself first because I kind of put myself last I come because I just putting other people ahead of me, because of life. And I feel so much better now. I've dropped 25 pounds. I feel like
Wow.
energetic and I feel like I'm ready to tackle the day. I'm still going through some things, but I just feel so much better about myself now. And I'm just, about business and just ready to tackle the day and to move forward. So, like you said, it does have to do with mindset. So, my message is that just take care of yourself and your mental health and don't be forced to do it, but do it because of the love of yourself. And that's what God wants us to do. Our body is our temple, so we should take care of ourselves first.
Amen. That's very true. Would you invite God into a dirty home?
No.
That's true. You want to make sure it's clean before you have him over. That's great, guys. I mean, I'm seeing some of the comments here too, and I think I'm not the only one who has ever heard. And that's an amazing story, Tanya. Thank you for sharing it. But I think everyone here has had their journey with health and their journey with being on a path that they don't like. In order for you guys to get on the right path, sometimes we have to get on the wrong path to know how bad that pain is, right? You don't get obsessed with health until you feel the other side of that coin, right? So me when I was young, I was consistently overweight when I was young, and I used to get teased a lot as a kid. Like I'm talking about like under 12 years old, from the time I was like probably 5 to 12. It was, I was overweight and I had no idea what caused it. I had no idea that I was eating wrong. I had no idea that I wasn't exercising enough. None of that even popped into my head. But then once I started losing the weight and I started getting all the positive reinforcement, I never wanted to go back to that pain. So in order for you guys to really kind of like take full advantage of being healthy, is you got to feel a little pain on the other side, right? You got to see like, oh, I constantly stress out. I know for women, I know a lot of women out there, they constantly stress out before going somewhere because they can never find something to wear because they're always feeling self-conscious about their weight, or maybe the clothes that used to fit them don't fit them anymore, right? And I'm sure even guys sometimes, we probably feel that way, but that's pain, and for us to get away from that pain, we have to figure out, okay, what is it that I can control? What can I do in order to make myself feel more powerful, in a place where I can wear anything I want, or in a place where I have to get my clothes altered because they're too big on me? That's a good feeling, right? So, we kind of have to go through these dark spots in order to get back on track. I know for me, sometimes I might not, feel as healthy some weeks, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm falling off track. Chris will probably relate to me on this. Oh, I only went to the gym once this week, or I didn't go at all this week. I got to make up for it this week, so I'm gonna, train extra hard. And that's the kind of things we have to do sometimes. It's not a perfect path. Health, business, our relationship we got there's never a perfect path, right? It's always going to have either bumps, it's going to have sidetracks, sometimes it has shortcuts, sometimes it has long scenic routes, right? But we just got to remember that it's never meant to be perfect. It's never meant to be like, oh, every single day I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. I'll be back by 6. I'm going to do some meditation. I'm going to pray. And then by 7, I'll be ready. I'll take the kids to school. It'll never look like that every single day. Some days it might look like this. Oh, I overslept because last night, the kids woke up in the middle of the night and I overslept. So today I'm going to go for a walk instead of going to the gym. And then maybe tonight I'll go to the gym and work out, or maybe I'll skip today, but I'll do doubles tomorrow. Like, you have to kind of like understand that it's not a perfect journey. Like, oh, today I ate something bad because it was my birthday or someone's birthday and I was forced to eat cake. Okay, you ate cake today, or what you're gonna do tomorrow, or what you're gonna do later on today to burn off that extra cake or the extra calories, right? So don't overthink like, oh, being being in shape or being healthy or being a perfect business person is gonna be perfect all the time. Like if you miss making your calls today, make it up tomorrow, or make the calls this afternoon, or make sure that that doesn't happen again, whatever caused you to not make the calls today. So it just, as long as you understand that just because one day took you off path doesn't mean that that's kind of like you're out, like your excuse to not have to do it again. So we all have those days where we afford ourselves a little luxury of maybe messing up or maybe taking a day off, but just to know that it's never going to be a perfect 100 days straight of prospecting, or like that. Very seldomly, however, met anyone who was able to do 100 days straight of anything. Okay, so not that we're going to be super easy on ourselves, but we got to give ourselves a pass where we're like, okay, we didn't fail, we just kind of had a bump in the road, and then get back on track. Make sense?
Yes.
Good. All right. All right. So let's talk
Louis,
about
why did you stop making those videos?
which one, sweetheart?
The exercising videos.
The exercising videos?
I love them. Yeah,
you
they were
really?
very inspiring. Yeah.
I actually did a social media cleanse. I got off of social media because I saw a lot of negativity on there. I got off of TikTok for I feel like TikTok is in my opinion, guys, don't take this the wrong way, I just feel like TikTok is very it's almost like an abusive social media platform, where I feel like we're giving up too much of our privacy and information to a country that doesn't have the best intentions for us. I feel like there's a silent war going on between China and US. And the silent war that we're having is that they're infiltrating the minds of our youth, and also stealing our personal information. So I felt like I needed to get off of TikTok for that reason, because I didn't want it on my phone, because God forbid if my daughters get on my phone and they start scrolling through,
Yeah.
there's no real filter there. My daughters used to go on TikTok, and then like every third or fifth video was somebody cursing or somebody like horrible that I wouldn't want my kids to listen to. And it just became like, I got to get this thing off my off my phone. And then Instagram, for some reason, I'm just not a big fan of Mark Zuckerberg, period. So I limit my use on Instagram. I took it off my phone, and I haven't missed it at all. I felt like, I'd be out of contact with people, but everyone who needs to talk to me, they call me or they text me. So I will eventually go back on Instagram, just because I feel like I can reach a lot of people with a good message, but I just need to take a good break from, and the reason I took that break was because I got a new phone. So I had to reinstall all the apps. And I'm like, let me take a time to see how it would feel without Instagram. So I left it like that for a while. I'm not in the middle of building any big business right now. I'm kind of like working on some investment properties. So I said, I'm going to take this time to just kind of chill for a bit. I've even kind of slowed down on creating YouTube videos, but I'm going to get back on all that now that my first property is done. And I'm going to kind of walk people through more of those steps on how it is to invest in those types of things. So I am going to get back on, but it felt great, to be honest with you, to not be on Instagram for a while. Have you guys taken a time to get off social media for a little bit? I know it's kind of like ingrained in our business, but has anyone taken like a week off or a month off?
No, not me.
No?
I do it haphazardly. I mean, I do it without even knowing. I'm like, oh, somebody just said they haven't seen me on Facebook. Oh, yeah, okay, I forgot. Yeah, post this. So I'm not addicted to it. I forget. I forget to do something on social media, and no, I don't miss it.
Sure.
That's good. Like I have an addiction issue. With that.
Yeah.
I like to be on EXP Workplace more,
Absolutely.
because I'm just finding a world of information and questions that people ask, what properties are going up. A lot of referrals are coming through. So if any social media platform that I do the most, it is Workplace.
Yeah, that's really good. And I will tell you, social media is a double-edged sword. It's a powerful tool. It's something that you would have paid millions of dollars for in exposure back in the 80s and 90s, and now we get it for free. So I'll be the first one to tell you that it is a very good thing for you to have. But at the same time, it's also a very dangerous thing for you to have, because if you don't have the right mindset, being on social media could be a comparative competition with you constantly eating at you. So if
Yeah.
your mind ain't right, if your mind
That's
ain't right,
true.
you should not be on social media because it'll just make things that much worse. That's why you hear a lot, you hear about a lot of kids taking their own lives when they're young, because they're so impressionable and they see like these girls that have, you know, gifted physiques who are like dancing around. Meanwhile, maybe this young girl doesn't have that kind of same body makeup and they're consistently comparing themselves. It's a very dangerous thing and it starts from
Yeah.
a very early age. So if you're not in the right mindset where you go on social media and you see people doing well and you comment, hey, you're inspiring, you're doing well, maybe you should, you know, work on yourself before you get on social media and start, you know, to do that, because prepare yourself, because there will be a lot of that. And if you don't find yourself doing comparative things, sometimes you find yourself in a lot of drama too on there. So what limit your what I would say is limit your exposure to the people who are that way. You know, I'm not saying get anyone out of your life, that's your decision to make. But if you find that a lot of people you're following are very negative and toxic, I would consider muting those people for a while and then start following more people who maybe are your favorite authors, people who are maybe motivational, or, you know, how would I say, also faith leaders, you know, whatever where your faith is, and surround yourself more around that. Because I'll tell you this much, when I was looking into getting in healthy, I'd follow health influencers, because seeing them, you know, work out or new workouts or sharing tips, that would motivate me. But, you know, if I'm seeing, you know, people eating out all the time and like, we just went to this new restaurant that opened up, I'm thinking to myself like, wow, that looks really good. I might go there for lunch, you know? So you gotta watch yourself when social media and be, you know, and I'm gonna do that. So when I get back on social media, which is good for me in a while to take that cleanse, because when I get back on, I become more purposeful. And I try to also have a ratio of, am I scrolling more than I'm posting? Because there's two types of people. There are content creators and there are content consumers, right? Are you a consumer or are you a creator? If you consume more than you
Your
create,
camera just left you.
oh, sorry, let me switch cameras, my battery died. If you're a consumer more than you're a creator, there's a problem with that, because that means that you're a taker more than you're a giver. And if you're consistently consuming and never have a voice of your own, it really defeats the purpose of having that gift of social media. Social media is meant to amplify your voice, even if it's a little voice. Remember what we spoke about earlier, like if you influence one person, or even if you change the mindset of other people around you about how they see you, it makes all the difference in the world. So yeah, definitely, and that's pretty much all I have to say about that. What are your thoughts on that, guys? And I'm gonna want to share one thing before we go, and just keep you guys up to date with what's going on in the market.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right, 100%.
Yeah, Louis,
Go for it, Chris.
So I've got my personal page, which is where I'm connected with all of my friends and people I went to school with, and obviously a mix of, you know, clients and whatnot. But I've also created, you know, pages on Instagram. So I created the new one, EXP Morris Sussex NJ Team.
Yeah.
And so I try to not go on the personal page, which can easily kind of distract me with getting caught up with, like, you know, as a consumer. And I try not to look at that until like Friday or the weekend. And during the week, I focus on just being on the page, the Facebook page and the Instagram page, where I'm just like, you know, posting or boosting ads through KV Core and then tracking the activity and whatnot, you know, for that matter. But because, yeah, I agree with you. That can very easily consume so much of your time. And I realized the time that I spent on that personal page just consuming the feed, I could be reading a book a month. So that's kind of like my 2023 commitment, is to stay off the personal and stay off being a consumer Monday through Thursday and dedicate myself to studying or reading a book. And I've tackled 2 books so far this year.
Great.
You can join
That's good.
Chris. We're doing a book a month, and we just finished Never Split the Difference, and having someone to go over your thoughts when you're reading a business book. Oh my God, we learned so much. I'm never going to stop doing this. I'll send you the information if you're interested. And it's open for anybody if you guys want to join. We're about to start a new book. We're voting to see what's the next book. Maybe you can recommend something, Louis.
Yeah, you know what I was going to say, that would be a good exercise for us. So if you can share with us the books that you guys are going to be reading, maybe we could read along with you guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna send We meet every Friday at Zoom. Sometimes when we're close, we like the last month, the last meeting of the book, we're gonna do in person.
Mhm.
But every Friday at 7, if you guys wanna.
But this is a good book. I just started this.
The greatness mindset.
Yeah. For Lewis House.
Oh, okay, very good.
It's such a great book. I just started it.
Yeah, he's a really good person to listen to. He
Very
always-
positive.
Yeah.
Very, very positive.
What's the name of it? Let me see it again. The greatest mindset. Okay.
Take
Thank
a
you.
picture. You're welcome.
Unlock the power of your mind.
Cool.
All right, very good. Well, one last thing I want to keep you guys up to date with, so you're always in the know. Last week, we got our CPI numbers. Those are the numbers that indicate whether our inflation is tracking up or down or sideways. And the reading that we got is kind of a mixed bag where our year-over-year inflation rate is at 5%, which means that it's lower than it was before. You know, we were as high as 9% at the very worst. And, you know, you guys may see it a little bit differently on your end when it reflects to your grocery bill, your gas bill, your electric bill, your rent, your mortgage. You know, it seems like it's a lot more than it actually is. And that's because there's a lot of factors that weigh into what the inflation rate actually is. But one of the items that's still tracking the highest in inflation is real estate, is shelter. So shelter is still very high. There still hasn't been too much of a let up or a decrease in rents across the spectrum. I don't know if you guys are seeing it locally, but I'm not seeing it here in Florida as far as like rent prices coming down or home prices coming down too much. Interest rates are pretty much flat right now at, you know, somewhere between 6.5% to 7%. But just keep an eye on those numbers, because right now, according to what those numbers are telling us, the Federal Reserve is probably going to still be on a path of low to moderate increase hikes, which means that at the next meeting, they may increase our rates by another 0.25%, or maybe leave it flat for now, depending on, you know, what other readings they get. But keep in mind that that means that as interest rates continue to climb up higher, usually mortgage rates tend to track behind it, depending on what the 10-year bond ends up doing. So right now we're kind of like in a holding pattern, is what I could say. There's not really much to talk about, unless you guys have something that you've seen as far as a major shift in your marketplace. But as far as the data we're getting, it's pretty much on track to go sideways. What are you guys seeing?
It's crazy over here in Central Jersey.
It's
There
still
there's no properties. The mortgage interest rate went up. It's 650 now.
Uh-huh.
And last week it was 625.
The interest rates?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're breaking up a bit. Yeah, I think what she's saying is interest rates are climbing up a bit, and I see that. Now, last week I had a client go in apply with a few different mortgage lenders. I'm not sure if I froze up or if you guys froze up. Can anyone hear me? I think it was me.